This is the Brave Ideas Podcast, brought to you by Aqua. Welcome to episode 18 of the Brave Ideas Podcast, the show that is all about bringing to life fresh perspectives from the worlds of digital and marketing. I'm Dan Herman. I'm a digital strategist, a boxing rookie, and a midday public pool frequenter. And I'm here today with my co-host.
I'm Esther, head of ORM, and today just the sucker punch deliverer. We would love to hear your opinion about our show. Please email us at braveideas@aquaonline.com or follow us on social media at Aqua Agency on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, or Brave Ideas Podcast on Instagram.
Today we're talking to Sumaya Hersig, Technical Quality Assurer at Aqua. Sumaya is a PlayStation gamer who thrives on delivering fatalities in Mortal Kombat. And today, she's going to talk to us about testing. Sumaya, what's new?
Hi guys. Yeah, testing, it's an awesome thing to do. Make sure everything is working. Basically what we do is we interpret our documentations into images and then make that work for our end user. I make sure that everything works. We need to reach that point, but I also have the people around me that I need to deal with that makes all that possible, that brings everything together.
That's awesome. It's quite technical though. When you say documentation, what do you mean?
Someone will come into the studio and brief us and let us know that they want an app for the product. We then have to break it down into certain segments and make sure that the functionality behind that, what it's going to look like, obviously taking into consideration everything else that it needs to do. We will then have a look at the documentation as it was spec'd out by a business analyst. That will then talk to if there's different systems that we need to integrate with, we'll then have a look at all of that. And then when it gets to the builders and the developers, make sure that the imagery has been documented and also created properly.
So at what point in the process do you get involved?
We come in usually at the end, when timelines are no longer. And we have to then push out whatever we need to. We are the final say at the agency before it goes to client and client signs off.
And by final say, it's this is going to work, or it
if this
won't?
is not working and I'm not happy, I'm not signing it off, and client will then say yay or nay. Provided that it's not major issues, they will then go ahead and launch something, and we'll tweak it in the meantime once we've gone live. But essentially, we do have clients' needs at heart. If they want to go live at a certain date, we do whatever we need to, at whatever cost we have to. They are our primary.
If I'm understanding what you're saying, essentially, at the end of the day, the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that whatever technical output comes out of the agency,
Yes.
that you're ensuring that is of a certain level of quality,
Yeah.
but not even quality, that it works.
It works for
And
the end user.
It works for the end user and
Well, across the devices, being in the world that we're in, everything is stick. They have the iPads, the iPhones, they have Samsungs and your Nokias, your Windows applications. And we need to take all that into consideration. And the minute there's an upgrade, we need to make sure that what we've built is going to work on that platform. It's easy for me to just go and upgrade my software. But what else am I breaking in the meantime?
Yeah.
It's the same when you have your desktop. You just go and I'm going to get this news, upload this or download whatever, and it's going to work fabulously, and it doesn't. There's all the different plugins that we have today with our social media and that. It doesn't always work.
So, I'd be quite interested if you could give us an example of, it's a website hypothetically. How long would it take you to ensure that website is working across all different platforms, and how many platforms would you test that website on?
Interesting. Depending on how big the website is and if you need to log in and create a profile for yourself. If it's a simple website where I can just go and have a look at things, but not order anything off the website, depending on how many pages we have, because usually you have your home page, which tells you about the company, and then you'll have the products that they have on offer and services if they have any services. That is, you're looking at a standard 4-page website if you need to break it down. That across all devices, platforms, and operating systems can take us about 2 days.
And how often, and how much time do you normally get?
4 hours.
So clearly there's a massive issue between what it takes to test and the amount of time that you have to test in a high turnaround environment like an advertising agency. Why does this happen? Why do you have so little time?
Well, clients tend to change their minds on what they want a lot. Usually it should end with design. Once we've gone in design and they've signed off, there shouldn't be any changes. And they usually come back and say, oh no, I want this added and I want that added. And that just, the complexity then changes and the risk is higher because now we're cramming everything into the time that we have. I mean, 8 hours into 4 hours then gets cut down to 2 or 3 hours. And that essentially puts the project at risk. We then go back, being the consultants that we are, and say, guys, this is what we're looking at, and we'll have a look at the high risk. That's what we do. Which cell phones or devices that we have breaks all the time, and that's the ones we will then cater for. The one that's more complex with the operating system, and have a chat to the guys. And that's when you really have to do the whole, I need you to fix this now. It's going out immediately, and it just works fabulously when you have guys that work with you.
Okay. I mean, you really need guys who are able or agile enough to take that input and make the changes sort of instantly. What do you think we could do better to make sure that you have, and as an agency, we could do better to make sure you have 2 days instead of 4 hours?
I think if we have all the information up front, make sure that you're providing us. With our process, people tend to forget that we still test our stuff.
Yeah.
When it goes into planning, we need to remind them, but there's testing. And then if there's changes or fixes that needs to happen, that has to go back into the process and it starts all over again. So it goes back to the builder or the developer. And then we start all over again to make sure that nothing else has broken in the interim. I would say understanding the testing process and then catering for that and always adding a little more time, because you never know what could go wrong. And then your final sign-off is your final sign-off. No other changes. But that we've tried that. People change their minds all the time.
Yeah. So basically, there's no solution.
Well, we deal better. I think I do cope with pressure, and I think I do my best when I'm under pressure, as opposed to, it's going to change. Yeah. It's inevitable.
I'll also be quite interested to know, what are the qualities or skills that a tester needs in order to be effective at their job?
You constantly need to ask questions and build on that. Simple example, if I say to you, make a cup of coffee, and give me 40 points on making a cup of coffee, you need to be able to do that, because you're thinking of all the different scenarios and all the different setups. What is the end result? If I'm making a cup of coffee, who am I making it for? What time of day is it? Black or white? Hot milk, cold milk, skimmed milk? All that type of thing, the different sugar that you want. Do you want it in a mug, normal coffee mug? All those things. How do you want it served? Do you want it in an urn? Do you want us to pour it out? Those are the type of things that we look at, and that's just a simple breakdown as a cup of coffee.
Cool, because I don't really understand what you guys do, because I've never been really close to it, because I'm a strategy, I'm right at the front of the process as opposed to right at the end of the process. If I'm understanding the process correctly, you get your spec doc from the business analyst, and that is your Bible.
Yes.
That is your Bible that says this is what this thing is meant to be doing.
Yeah. And you read it, and you pick out words that it should. It's not it should, it has to do this.
Okay.
This is the function. It should to me means it can go either way.
Okay.
So when we do receive the specs, we go through it and we question. Then we have our kickoff meetings, and in there we raise our concerns. Okay, you're looking at this, what about that? And this, already what people's forgotten about.
Yeah.
You also have to think about the person that's going to use the app. I might be very tech savvy, but I need to cater for someone that's not. And if you're going to tell me, yes, you create a username, you create your profile, and your username needs to be that. What if I don't have myself and as in cater for adding in the special characters. I have to go completely or hold the button.
Yes.
What happens in that process when I'm holding down a button
Yes.
in the back end? And those are things that we actually look at.
And then another thing that we were talking about the other day was around software itself
Yeah.
and how fragile it is.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I guess my question is to you then, is software getting less fragile, or is it just getting more and more fragile? And what is your, in your experience and the way that you've seen, the way that these guys work and the sort of stuff that they're building, is there less complexity or more complexity being added to the kind of work that you're doing?
Well, I think the more complex, obviously, the more risk we have.
Yes.
And if timings are an issue, it is something's going to slip through.
Yes.
I think simple is always better. We do try to keep everything simplistic, but there are those projects where you need your logins, you need your interaction from the end user, and that's where we go in and we have to sit down and think, what if I upload 45 meg file?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is a JPEG, so the person on the street is thinking, oh, I can just put in a PNG.
Yes.
And if that doesn't get catered for, the end user is going to be frustrated at the end of the day. So we keep it simple. In our, when you're uploading, you need to cater for all of that, and you can't leave out anything. Have your messages that's friendly and not like, oh, look what you just did, type thing. But something that says, oops, try uploading a JPEG instead of a PNG, which actually makes me feel a little better.
Cool.
Hello, hey guys, Sumaya. I actually have two questions as I was listening that I'd like to ask you. The first one is about, so you speak a lot about how consumers' ability to do things and what devices they are on.
Yeah.
Is there a part of the process for you and your team where you're actually collecting analysis on that? So around a certain brand like an MTN, for example, would you know who the consumer is, what devices they are specifically using? They might all be on Lumias and we're catering for Samsungs. And then also the other consumer insights around how they use their devices, etc.
Yeah.
Where are you gathering that type of information?
Well, internally we chat a lot to our analytics guys. They will go ahead and say, okay, these are what we've got from client, and this is the breakdown of how the campaign has actually done. As far as the tech side, we actually go and we look at the stats. How many people are still using IE8? How many people are using a certain device? So we do break it down into that, and then obviously chat around it and advise our clients, look, this is what we're going to do, this is the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And
I guess for
forward.
you as well, I mean, working for so long with the technology, instincts also come into play. So, and that leads to my second question, where I wanted to ask you around, you did mention to us that automation, like in the rest of this industry, is becoming a buzzword around a lot of the things that we do. But you mentioned a lot of questions have to be asked and a lot of instincts have to be used in the actual analysis. How is automation going to affect your whole process?
For us currently, we won't be affected by it because we don't work on huge projects. Our projects are never 6 or 8 months. We have little increments that we release. If you're running with a huge project, you would then set up your cases, look at your system, and then start automating your stuff. With us, we visually have to look at it and have a look at the device. So we do, on occasion, we actually go in and we have a look at what, when you minimize your screen and you have a look at how it's rendering, that should be about the size of a normal laptop screen. And then you look at it on a laptop, an actual laptop, and it's completely different. So we use actual devices, and automation for that is not going to work. You still need your manual testing.
Great, Sumaya. So it's been an awesome discussion. And if there was one thing that you could take out of this conversation for Aqua and the broader industry, what would it be?
Well, the one thing is that we're constantly growing and evolving. Just kind of push your limits constantly. Things change, and as testers, we need to grow as well.
So, Sumaya, if people want to find out more about this topic or find out more about you and what you do, where can they get a hold of you?
They can contact me at sumayah@aquaonline.com.
Cool. Now let's move on to this week's innovation.
So, talking about innovations, Dan, in this ever-evolving world of digital and technology, we come across quite a few innovative job titles you would not believe could be real. In fact, 5 years ago you would, and I think maybe you did, Daniel, have laughed at the thought of a conversation analyst, or the title we're currently working on for a job like stratanalogy. Job descriptions are becoming filled with bizarre, in this industry at least, buzzwords, and you just have to scroll through a fine job type website to have a little chuckle. So I thought I'd introduce you to some very new titles, which I found recently in an article on Mashable. And the first would be a certified UAV pilot. Would you like to take a stab at what this could be referring to, Daniel?
This could be referring to a pilot of sunscreen.
Yes. No, that's not what it's referring to. The operator, it's actually referring to the operator of an unmanned automatic vehicle. Would you like to take a stab at what that could be, Daniel?
It's a drone.
It's a drone. So something we've become all too familiar with in the last decade. But now you can actually have the official job title of drone operator. Another title would be, and I guess in our industry people would be like, but of course, would be a 3D printed clothing designer. That's brand new. Or perhaps you'd like to take design to a whole new level or world and become an augmented reality architect, also known as a therapist, seeing the way augmented reality is going these days. And are you an accountant, perhaps? Needing a new adventure? Well, you know how accountants love adventure. Well, consider a job as alternative currency specialist with the likes of the development of currencies such as Bitcoin today. It seems that you can literally tell your kids today that they can become anything they want, even if they have to invent the titles themselves. Really, buzzwords are becoming real jobs. So if you would like to add any of your own that you know of, or perhaps you yourself have a job title that didn't exist 5 years ago, please comment on this show's post on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or LinkedIn. We'd love to hear some of your new buzzword job titles.
Thanks, Esther. And thank you for listening to the Brave Ideas podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. And while you're on iTunes, give us a rating and a review. You can also visit aquagrp.libsyn.com for the complete library of episodes. If you want to keep in touch with me, Dan, you can follow me at elhermo on Twitter and elhermo23 on Snapchat and Instagram. And you can follow Esther.
Simply Esther Mcgeer on Instagram.
Special thank you to Sumaya Hersig, our special guest. Thanks to Klawansky for music and production. Thanks to Gous and Hannah Hughes for art direction. And a special thank you to the Aqua social team for managing our social media platforms.
That brings us to the end of the show. We'll leave you with a final thought. There are no original ideas, only original people.